All right.
All right.
So I am now live with Johnny, aka Presence, aka childhood friend. Anyways, so I got to do an assignment for a class, and I hit up John, and I did not expect him to read the message, but he did, and he said he was down to do an interview. So, all right, let's start this interview by telling me a little about yourself, John.
Um, where you want me to start?
Let's say how you grew up to be the man you are today.
All right. I was born in Ventura, California, but most of my life I've spent in Camarillo. So that's where I was raised. I still live here today, the same house for the last 10 years. In terms of my home, where I was brought up, it was Camarillo, California. And I don't know. I'm just in terms of like who I am, personality wise. I don't know, changes. I feel like we all have, a lot of different personalities around different people, and just as a whole, that's what makes us human. So it's kind of hard to define myself, I guess. But I would say for the most part, I'm a just thoughtful person. I don't know. That's a little bit about myself. I would say like one word that would kind of wrap it up. So yeah, I try to be mindful of things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you are a pretty open-minded person. I'll admit that. So I gotta. Have you always known that you wanted to be a musician?
No, no, definitely not. When I was growing up, I was, initially, especially in like my earlier elementary school years. Probably all the way through elementary. Uh, like basketball and really just sports in general were my main passion. But I never really had this mindset like, oh, I'm gonna go to the league, as a player. But when I was younger, I really wanted to still be involved in in the sports world somehow. So I was like, oh, I could be a sports doctor or a sports therapist, or I really thought it would be cool to be a sports analyst, like on Sports Center or announcing games. But as I started growing older, different things started, uh, you know, opening up. I've always been passionate about writing. Is something that I'll say that stems probably back to like third grade, but even probably further back than that because my parents made me read every day growing up, and so I think because of that, it just kind of instilled this subconscious mindset that of just like taking in information through reading and releasing it through writing. And so I think I wrote my first song when I was in sixth, going into seventh grade. It was like a song for my mom for her birthday, and then, but even
That
then,
one blew up right there.
no, it didn't. It didn't blow up. It was just my mom posted it around her Facebook. I was in seventh grade. Like I wasn't. I still wasn't like, oh, I'm gonna be a musician. This is what I'm gonna do. I mean, people at school started like learning that I sang and I rapped and stuff. Uh, but even then, like I wasn't good. I was looking back at my old notebook the other day of my first songs, and I was just like, wow, this is terrible. But it makes sense. I was in middle school. Um, but it wasn't real. It didn't really hit me that I could even do music as a career until I'd say my sophomore year in high school, because at that point I had already started uploading my songs to YouTube, and that's where I started actually gaining a following for my music. And then I don't think it was until I stepped foot into Paramount Studios, because I was supposed to do this song with this artist, Baker Matt, this DJ from the Netherlands, and he signed to Sony and whatnot. And so, they rented out the studio. So I walk in and I was just like, what the heck? I see all the plaques on the wall. I freaking hear like Timbaland and like Portugal the Man and like a studio, like in a room right there, like right next to where I was recording. So that's when it hit me like, oh snap, like this is real. And I didn't end up, taking that route. I'm still not signed to a record label. I'm still independent doing my own thing. But I think that really hit me. It was kind of the affirmation of the higher ups that made me realize I could do it myself. So I think that's when I figured out, I could do this.
So would you say that moment inspired you to become a musician, or would you say a specific person inspired you to do music?
No, I wouldn't say it was even. I'd say be a musician. Uh, wouldn't even necessarily be that moment. I think that was the moment I realized I could be a musician as a career. I would say even prior to that, though, just making music, it was more. I, th- hmm, I think the first thing that, I don't know, because it wasn't like a single moment. It was all something that really developed over time, and it also wasn't a single person. But I'd say if I could go back to a single moment that really sparked everything, that like sparked this like domino effect that led into me getting to that point, and then eventually getting to the point that I'm at now, was when I posted a comment on a YouTube video, and it was on this instrumental for this beat that was like going around. It was going super viral, and I just posted a comment with lyrics in the comment section, and then the comments started like garnering a bunch of likes. A lot of people started telling me like, "Oh, make a video," and that was like the first time that I had actually written lyrics to a beat. Because prior to that, it was more so just like poetry. I was just writing like lyrics, but there was no instrumental backing. But this was, the time that I did that. And then I think just the people encouraging me on that comment, and then me actually putting a video out, and then it like getting views. That was the moment that was like, this is what I want to do. Like I really enjoyed doing this. And it wasn't even necessarily like I want to be a musician full time, because I was only a freshman in high school. It was just like I want to make music, and so I would say that was that moment.
So there's a lot of reasons why people write music. Some write music as a way to express themselves and put it on paper what they can't say in person. Others write music as a message to express their thoughts or feelings on a subject. Why do you write music?
I think that it's a combination of a lot of things. Again, it's hard to single out a single thing, because music is all of those things. Music is can be an outlet for me. It can be an outlet for other people. Music is something that I could tell a story, like true or fiction. It's something that, it could also just be about the melodies making people feel something. And so I would say it's all of those things. I think that's why I love music so much, because it isn't just singled out to like face value. This is what it is. It's that, you could make it about this, but it could mean something completely different to somebody else. And so I would say it's a combination of so many different elements is why I make the music. Yeah.
So who would you say are your top 3 favorite rappers or singers of all time?
Oh, dang, that's tough. I don't know. That changes on the daily. What is it right now? Let me think. All time, my top 3 favorite. I would say, dang, I don't know, because there's artists that I loved when I was younger that really got me into music that I don't really listen to as much anymore. So I'm just debating whether I put them like in my top 3, because it's all time. So you got to go back, years. I think that, just because I listened to him so much when I was in like middle school, I would put NF in there. And then I would say, again, Lecrae was somebody that I listened to a lot when I was in like middle school. That those are artists who were like more in like a certain realm. But now, especially, I listen to a lot of different artists. I would say within the last like year, my favorite artist has probably been Aries, and that's 3 right there. But another album I will say that's completely different from the music that I make, but was like one of the first albums I really fell in love with, was Fetty Wap, his self-titled like debut album. That was because I think I was in 7th or 8th grade when that dropped, and that was, it just had bangers, and so I would say Fetty Wap is in there too. So that's like 4 people. You asked for 3, but I'll give.
No, that's cool. You can say more if you want. But would you say that you incorporate some of their style of music in your own?
Yeah, I think that if you, yes, and yeah, I think just the simple answer is yes, because I think it's a combination. Even if it's just subconsciously, my music is inspired, by the people that I listen to myself. And so, but I think because I listen to so many different types of artists, like the artists that I just named, they're all very different. Um, and so I think that I myself am able to incorporate a lot of different aspects. I'll say NF especially because he was like one of my favorite artists when I started making music. A lot of people make that comparison, but even now I've been doing a lot more like build ups and that's kind of like the airy style, like it all builds up to and then it like drops, or the melodies, even kind of from like listening to Fetty back in the years. Um, and so even though they're not the first people to do those things, or the only people, and I wouldn't say my style is like directly derived from any of them individually, where it's just like, oh, I'm just like this artist. I do feel like I pull inspiration from all sorts of places, and I feel like the artist that I listen to is one of them.
So, would you say that the way you write music is a unique style of your very own?
I don't know because I don't know how other people write their music necessarily. I mean, for me, um, it's a process that's constantly changing. So um, I don't really have like a set like, oh, this is how I write a song. Because sometimes I'll have an instrumental first and then I'll write the lyrics. Sometimes I'll have melodies and it's like, okay, I need to create an instrumental that comes around this. Or I have a song idea for lyrics and then it's putting that, or like the song idea comes later on. Um, so since I don't really have a set formula, I would say no. I don't know because like, but yes and no because I feel like everybody kind of has their own unique way of doing things, especially when it comes to creating art. And I think that's what makes artists unique is that they take their own approach. But also, I know that there's thousands, if not like millions, of other people out there making music as well, and I'm sure there's other people out there who have taken the same approach I have somewhere.
So, in your honest opinion, what would you say are your greatest weaknesses and why?
Just as a human being,
Well, as a human being and as doing music too.
um, I'd say that my biggest weakness is probably um, my my anxiety. That's something that I can't really control. But I feel like that's something that within the realm of just like going about my day to day life, and then also making music. It's something that could really mess with my head and like ruin whole days for me. Um, and I think especially since we're talking about music, I'll touch on that. Like music for me initially was like an outlet. It's something that I did for myself. But then it was like once I started doing it, as well for other people, it's like this added pressure and my anxieties like just made it this like something that wasn't even pleasurable for a period of time, because it was there's so many different thoughts. This needs to be this way. This needs to be this way. Instead of just like letting it happen. And so I would say that is like my single biggest weakness. Yeah.
Well, we're talking about weaknesses. So, what would you say is your greatest strength?
My greatest strength is probably um, I think my ability. That's not even really ability. I would say more just my mindset in that I believe I can, prosper whenever I do something. It's like I truly believe in myself, and I think that because of that, that's helped me um, get to continue to grow, continue to move forward. Because I feel like if you don't believe in yourself, who is?
Yeah. So, I've seen your videos. You moved from doing music in a car to now doing music videos out everywhere, and I mean like everywhere. I've been watching your videos, and you be going to the most like beautiful to the most like unknown areas. How would you say that transition felt for you, moving from a car to doing music videos and stuff like that?
That was the transition that really tore me apart mentally at first. That I was talking about when it made music not pleasurable because I got so used to and so comfortable in what I was doing. It was easy. Everything was similar. It was a similar format. You had this like sad instrumental. You had me like singing and rapping over this beat in the backseat of the car. It was just a one take video, and that's what this process. But then I kind of got tired of it, and I was like, I want to make real music. But that was a whole new challenge, and so it was like when I took that on, I felt this pressure because I already had a fan base too, and I was like, all right, people like this, people want me to stay in the car, but I want to do what I want to do, so I need to make this great so that I can prove to them that like I'm an artist as well, not just like not just a YouTube rapper. And I feel like that transition initially was super difficult, especially because I just didn't know I didn't know how to set up any of my equipment. I didn't know how to mix or master music. I didn't know anything. Like I had to actually start making a budget, because it's like, okay, I need to put this money into, paying for an instrumental, and this money into mixing and mastering, and then this money for a budget for, whatever it may be, all of these different elements. Where before it was just like, I was just, finding beats on YouTube and then just singing over them and putting them up. And if I got copyrighted, then it was like, okay, you could have the money. But now, since I was putting my own money into it as well, like money became an aspect, and that made it really difficult to focus on the art. But I will say that eventually, once I was able to, make it over that hump, everything just started clicking, and I was like, wow, like I really love this way of doing things, way more. Because like I'm constantly creating now. And I think you could even hear the difference once I made that hump. Where my first song is that I officially put out was this song called "Thinking About Us," and it's super rough, not a good mix. It's just like it in my opinion, it just doesn't sound like a good song. But then my next song that I put out was my song "Just Hold On," which I feel like it was just this drastic improvement that so many people could hear. And that I think you could even see in the numbers that it clicked, and so I would say it was difficult, but it was worth it to make that transition.
So you've been making steps, like of course getting from the car to doing music videos. You even got your own what is it called? You even got your own Spotify, like
Yeah,
putting music on there. And then I've been seeing you even got your own clothing line. So you've been making some moves. So
yeah,
I can tell that you're actually willing to take this professionally in the future. So
yeah.
what steps are you planning to take other than those to make this dream a reality?
I mean, I have things set in place that I feel like I can do this. Especially at this point, like I have the audience, I have a good amount of connections, and so I think it's really just putting it all into fruition, and just like kind of not sitting around waiting anymore and actually just doing it. And so at least, especially for this next year, I'm taking a break off of school. I'm not going to college, and I'm just really gonna dial in on my music and make that my main priority. And I think that as a result of that, people will really be able to see and hear, an improvement, and just actually, I think I'll actually be able to bring all my ideas to life. Starting even just like in like 11 days is when it's like I'm like, okay, this is when it hits. That's my next release. And after that, it's like, okay, like I'm going for it. So yeah.
So we're talking about music, but let me take a side note real quick. Who would you say has been your biggest role model in your daily life?
Um, I mean, day to day, probably my mom, just because she's, the one who's like always home. I would say, I'm very similar to my dad. Like, I love my dad to death. Probably, I couldn't ask for a better dad. He works a lot though. And I'll say so just like overall, day to day, my biggest role model, because just growing up, it was like that was right in front of me was my mom.
So I already know the answer to this, but some people might not. So does your mom support your decision to become an artist?
You said what?
Does your mom support your decision to become an artist?
Yeah, yeah. I think especially because she's seen the things, firsthand that I've been able to accomplish so far. And I think it took a lot of, I think it hit her too, when she went to the studio with me at Paramount, a few years ago. Because I remember, first time, my mom's a realist, she's going to be realistic with me, like brutally. Even if she needs to be. And so, like, I remember the first time I had a video hit 1 million views on YouTube. She was like, that's like congratulations, but like don't like expect it to happen again. Like don't be upset like if it doesn't happen. And then it was like I was like, okay, I need to prove something. Next video hit 1 million views as well. And then I think from there it was like, oh, okay, it was like an eye opener. And I think from there, just continuing to grow, even, with the merch release that I just did, it was the most successful, merch release I've ever done. And there's actual, like, I'm learning how to monetize my platform and make money off of it now. And I think because of that, it's like, oh, okay, like this is something. And my mom's even always said, like, worst comes to worst, like, because my mom's always believed in my writing and loved my writing. So she's like, worst comes to worst, you could write, John, like, write for other people. And, like, I know, like, my songs are worth, a lot of money, if I were to just, sell them to other artists. And so, I think, actually, no, I know that my mom definitely supports my passion. She wants for me what I want for myself.
Have you ever had to sacrifice something in order to get closer to making your dream a reality?
Yeah, definitely, all the time. I think I sacrificed a lot of the high school experience, which I'm not too upset about. But I mean, even the first song I ever recorded, it was just on SoundCloud and stuff. It was the song "They Don't Understand," though, and I didn't go to homecoming because I went to the studio, and that was like the one opportunity I really had to go to my own homecoming because the other school I went to my other 3 years of high school, it was a smaller school. We didn't do homecoming, and so I sacrificed that. I think I mean I didn't really go out that much, but I mean that was just kind of who I was as a person, anyways. But I do feel like I made a lot of sacrifices that I didn't need to make as well. Even some things that I'm just like, dang, I didn't really see the bigger picture at the time. But even like I think back to when I was recording a song. There was this song that I was putting out, and it was like this was like summer last year, and like my family had went. They were like going to the pool and stuff. It was like this like special day that that was planned with like family and friends were all going, and I was like, no, like I need to stay home. Like I need to finish this song. I need to record this. Like this is the only time that the house is quiet that I can record it. And so it was like it was more so I was just giving up moments in order to further my career. And I mean I will say I'm pretty sure that song was Just Hold On, and that became my biggest song. So it's like you could say it was worth it, but it was also I still had to sacrifice different moments to.
So you were talking about sacrificing moments and stuff, and some of them you regret. What would you say is the one that you regret most of, like missing out on?
I would say just anything like involving my family. I would say I regret the ones with my family more than I regret like not seeing friends or something. Because my circle has always been small anyways. But it's like I've always been, close to my family, and I know that, um, like this is not who I want to be. Like I want to be able to, um, be there with my family and experience moments with them. Because like I've reached the realization, um, that those are the moments that we live for. Those moments with our loved ones, that we look back on and say, like, wow, that like this makes life worth it. Um, and so I would say anything, like really just involving them.
So we talk about your regrets and stuff, but so I know you got a lot of accomplishments, but do you mind naming a few of those accomplishments that you're most proud of?
I would say my biggest accomplishments, at least within the realm of music, um, I mean, reaching 100,000 subscribers on YouTube was one. I mean, I'm way past that now, but it was like once I actually saw like six figures, there, uh, and then I got the YouTube play button and everything. It was like, wow, this is legit. This is dope. Um, I would say, uh, just hold on was my, putting that song out. I would say that, not even necessarily the numbers, even though it has the biggest numbers of a song I've put out. I would say more just the the reaction from people and the impact that the song made is my individual, like, greatest accomplishment within music. Uh, just because I put that song out with an intent of, you know, touching people's souls, that were hurting. And, I feel like the song was able to do that. And just the messages and everything that I received after that song, just the comments like, wow, the song saved my life. I think that's the single biggest one. And then, I mean, giving a TED talk, that was something that was crazy for me. That was a big accomplishment, especially to do it, like before I was even 18 years old. Um, and so I feel like, those are just a few things that I was able to do already. Um, but, not the end of what I want to accomplish either.
Yeah, you've reached some goals, but you still gotta keep setting more and more to keep on shooting, basically shooting for the stars.
Yeah.
So with a lot of accomplishments, of course, there does come failures. Did you ever so do you ever give up on something, or do you just keep trying until you finally accomplish it?
I mean, I think that there's little things, like, but I think that when you're on a journey, like a long journey, but within the grand scheme, it's like I've never given up. But I feel like there's little, things that you run into on the path, that you're like, okay, this is a bump in the road. I need to move around this, or like this is a waste of time. I need to stop this and move on to something else. And so like it's the little things, like a song that I could be working on, for a month, and then I'm just like, I hate this, and then I just, like essentially throw it in the trash, like metaphorically, because and I just, but it's I'm moving on to something else, and so it's like I technically, gave up on the song, but it was to work on something else and continue moving forward in the bigger goal, in the bigger picture.
So what would you say has been your biggest professional disappointment?
My biggest professional disappointment, dang. I would say, huh. I don't know, because I don't necessarily look back and um like regret necessarily the music that I put out, or as a result of the response or anything, because I feel like it all has led up into a point that I'm at now, and I'm happy with where I'm at now. Um, and so I don't know. I feel like looking back, because I don't feel like it's a disappointment either. Of course, like my first song that I put out, Thinking About Us, I feel like that song sucks.
But it
And so
made you who you are today. It made you realize that you need to do better.
yeah, I was like, man, like that was disappointing. Um, like I really put that out, but at the time, I don't know, I thought it was good. Um, and I don't know, I would say no. Okay, I would say my biggest professional quote unquote disappointment was not taking advantage of an opportunity I had when I had it, because there's a time when I was like really, like popping on YouTube, where I would post and my engagement was super high. I had a lot of fans that were tuning in constantly, getting ridiculous amount of views on YouTube, but I wasn't putting actual music out at that time, because I was like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But I could have been recording those songs and releasing them, and I could have been monetizing my platform better, instead of just getting money from YouTube. I could have been doing brand deals, and I could have been doing things that would put me in a better financial position. Now I'm probably even further along in my music career, but I think that it all panned out the way it did for a reason. So, but I would say that might have been my biggest disappointment.
So, from personal experience, what would you say is the most difficult decisions for a person to make in order for them to reach their goals?
The biggest. Wait, can
Like,
you?
what would
Can you?
you say from personal experience that is the most difficult decisions for a person to make in order for them to reach their goals?
The most difficult decision?
Yeah.
I think the most difficult decision anyone can make is to continue going even after things don't look like they're going their way. Even when if they feel like they're failing, because and I think a lot of people do that early on because so many people want immediate success and they don't understand the process that goes into developing success in any field. And so, I mean, for me, even like my first video that I put out on YouTube, it did well. And then after that, it was like, I was like, nobody was listening to my music. And so I could have at that moment been like, oh, like nobody's listening to this, like there's no point. Like, I don't want to do this. But it was me continuing to, say like make the decision, because I had gotten really like lazy because I was like, oh, nobody's listening anyways. But then it was like I made this decision, like, no, like I'm gonna do this, like I'm gonna figure out a way. And then it's like it all kind of goes downhill. But then you don't necessarily see when it starts going back up, and then it's like you could be so close, to that moment, and you just give up. But I think it's constantly making the decision to try.
So, let me see. Oh, yeah. So with musicians, of course, there's fans who love what they do and support, which I know you got a lot. But then, of course, with fans, there's always haters talking trash or talking about how their music could be better or whatever. How do you deal with the negativity?
I mean, at this point, I've gotten used to it. I'm gonna be 18 in a week. I've been getting hate on the internet since I was, 14, 15 years old. So I think that, when I first started really getting hate, I could read 10, great comments, and then I read one negative one, and that would just like break me, like, tear me apart. But I think I've reached a point now, where I understand the success that I have, and so people who are gonna hate, it's like, okay, like you don't like the music, but there's so many other people who do, like, and that's who I do it for. So it's like, why would I let? Because I'm still successful. I look at the bigger picture. I'm like, I have, 500,000, fans. Like I have, millions of streams. Why would I let a negative comment? Because that can't take that away from that. Like a negative comment from someone doesn't take away from the fact that I have accomplished what I have. And so I think that it's just being confident in myself and knowing who I am and what I've accomplished, and not letting that you know get me down.
Yeah, some people see it as the more haters they have, it's just because they're being like successful and they just want to bring them down. So, I mean, my brother he also does music. He welcomes haters. He says, "Hey, if you're
Mhm.
spending your time out of your day to try to ruin mine, and then he's like, well, then you're focusing on me. I'm not going to give you a second thought."
Yeah.
But so you have a lot of skill. I'm not gonna lie. I've been listening to music and I've been like, damn, he's been getting better. So
Yeah.
I've been keeping up with your process and your improvements. But what would you say that you do to improve your knowledge of music and to further improve your skills?
I think it's just continuing to make it like there's nothing that it's like oh I'm studying for to because within the realms of what I'm doing for music, it's not like I'm learning to play the guitar, where it's like, there's certain things, steps that you do in order to become better at playing the guitar. You practice, strumming, you practice, your chords and, the individual, there's different things that you do. Um, where within, I'm making, like songs, and so I think that it's more so. I mean, it still is just doing it, and it's not. It doesn't feel like practice because I'm not practicing when I'm writing. It's not like oh I'm like this is just a practice song. Like I write every song with the intent of it being a good song, but that still is practice. Because I'm still putting in the work, and so I say that's what I do, and even just I've started listening to music in different ways at times now. Like not all the time, I still listen to music for enjoyment, and then I'm like, okay, that just like a normal person would. But there's other times, where I go back to those songs, and I'm like, okay, I love this song. Like, why do I love this song? Like, what makes it a good song? You know, and so it's like, okay, I didn't even realize, this backing vocal right here but it just sounds like something, because the song just flowed, but it's like, that really added an element, or, this in the instrumental. And so I think that it's, working on my own music and then looking at other people who um, I, I admire as well within the same field, and taking inspiration from them as well.
So I already know the answer to this one, but I'm gonna ask you anyways. What is more important to you in this music industry, the fame and the money, or being heard and getting your message out to the world?
I mean, being heard, of course. The fame and the money, it comes along, with it. But I think that within the grand scheme of the world, um, your voice uh, has the ability to have a bigger impact than anything else. And so I feel like with my music, I really am trying to help, those who listen to my music. And I think that, um, being heard is just, that's what you do it for, So that's what I would say.
All right, I got two more questions for you, and then we'll be done.
All
All
right, for
right.
sure.
So, are there any codes that you live by in your daily life, like any words of like wisdom that you live by?
Um, yeah, to an extent. Even if it's not something that I'm just like thinking about, like, oh, it's not. I don't really have a code that I like wake up and I'm like I'm gonna live my life like this. Um, but I will say the first thing that came to my mind when you said that, I remember this was my screensaver for a bit, uh, like probably a few months ago, and it's from a comedy song, so it's kind of ironic, but it's this line that says, like, "What if life on Earth could be heaven? Doesn't just the thought of it make it worth a try?" And I feel like uh, I don't know what awaits me after this life, but it's like I know that I'm here now, and so it's like I'm gonna make this, the best, you know, um, possible thing that I could make it. Like I want to enjoy this life. I want to have a peace of mind, and so it's, just trying to live contently.
All right. So if you could travel back in time and meet your past self, what would you say?
Nothing.
You wouldn't try to prevent anything from happening or getting yourself ready for things that will happen in the future?
Nah.
You just
Nah.
let everything be.
Yeah, because there's a domino effect in life. You change one thing, it changes the whole timeline. I don't know what decisions I would have made or where I would have ended up if there were certain things that I didn't do, certain mistakes that I didn't make. There's a lot of mistakes that I made, things that I go back, I'm like, wow, that was really idiotic of me. Like, wow, like what the heck was I thinking when I did that?
Like that time we were flying that drone and you put it on your neighbor's
You
roof.
did that, fool.
No, you did that. Wait. No, wait, it was me. Yeah, because I had to
You
climb and
hopped
get
on the
it.
roof. Yeah. No, but I mean, even I'm just happy, with where I'm at in life. I'm happy with, the relationships that I have with people. I'm happy with, like where I'm at. Mentally, I'm happy with, even just like financially, like because that's an aspect as well. And I think that I appreciate it more because I've seen my own growth, and it wasn't something that was like a shortcut, that it was like oh, I'll do this, for my future self. It was things that I actually had to go through and learn myself. So I wouldn't tell myself nothing.
Keep everything a secret. Well, I appreciate you taking all this time to like actually go out of your way to do an interview with me. That really meant a lot. But before we do go, I have one more thing to ask. Do you have any inspiring words of wisdom or advice you want to give to anyone out there watching this interview right now?
I would say that the biggest inspiration I could give to anybody is to just hold on. Those are words that I really push towards people, especially if it's younger people who feel like they're stuck in a rut, like I can't, or they're in a bad living situation. Is just hold on. But then it's like, even if you're older, and you still, you need some inspiration. I say go do something that you've never done before and see what this world has to offer, and that will ingrain something in your mind, like wow, there's more, and as a result of that, learn from that and make your life, what you want it to be. Law of attraction, think about it, manifest it, and make it true.
Well, we'll end it here on that note. It's been real fun and enlightening doing this interview with John. I mean, we really need to catch up. But it's been my honor to interview you, and I look forward to seeing what you do in the future with your music and with your clothing. I need to hop on that too. So until next time, I'm Isaiah Danny Murno, and that's it for this interview. Later, John.
Later, man. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you too. Oh no, my computer's glitching. Hold up.